We are Cactus Wrestling. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.
Heyo, it's Cactus Wrestling. So, was the 2024 Penn State wrestling team the best team ever? Well, by points, it was. Yes, they broke the all-time points record set by the 97 Iowa team with a score of 172.5, beat Iowa by 170. But as we do at Cactus Wrestling, we dive a little bit deeper. And I kind of went through some data and went through, hey, let's compare these two teams. The Iowa 97 was the best team beforehand. Is this Penn State team really the best ever? So just a little bit of history. If you scroll down over here, so you'll see these are the top five team scores ever. So you have Penn State number one now, Iowa 170, 1986 Iowa was 158, 91 Iowa was 157, 1983 Iowa was 155.
The thing that what you put in Z column
Yeah, I
that's
was like, I'm looking at that one. That's interesting.
All
that one
right.
catches my eye.
We'll get to that. So there have been some changes over the years. So let's go a little history lesson with good old Cactus. I don't what do we never named this guy. He's just Cactus.
I've always called him Cactus Jack because you created it. So like I was always just
Well,
that's
I
what I called
drew it, but Mike
No,
created
I actually how that guy came to be was I came up with the acronym for Cactus, and then I was all right. We need a logo. So then I printed off a bunch of random pictures of cartoon cactuses and beefed up, jacked up like wrestling cartoons, and I was like, all right, Jack, merge these and create something, and that's the result
bam,
right
baby.
there. That's how the Cactus Man came to be. I think I even told him to have one
Oh
of
yeah, because I had they're
he
both
originally had it both, and I was like, that looks too much like a cowboy hat, and we are not out west.
it.
Turn one of them down.
and and I had the smile. He was like smiling. So
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just like a
you wanted him
grin. I was
frowning.
like, no, no, turn that upside down.
Yeah. Anyway,
Little tweaks.
if you have a good name for the cactus, drop it in the comment down below. But anyway, so some key changes over the years. In 1979, they switched from 6 All-Americans to 8 All-Americans. So that for placement points, that makes a change. But as you can see, the top 5 scores, none are before 1979. 1997, the advancement point was added. So as it currently stands, you get one advancement point in the championship round and then zero point 0.5 point advancement point in the consolation round. So this was the first year, 1997, that they added that. So that very well could have been the reason why 1997 Iowa had the record of 170 beforehand, because they added the advancement point. 2001, they switched the scoring for All Americans. So in 1997, you'll see the allocation for points earned by All Americans, and the top two are the same, but third is only 9 compared to today, where it's 10.
Wow.
Fourth is 7 compared to 9. Fifth is 5 compared to 7 today. And then really three,
Huge change.
yeah, sixth place is 3 compared to 6 today. Seventh place is
That is a big
2
difference.
compared to 4 today. And then eighth place is 1 compared to 3 today. So a lot more points being added by All Americans as of 2001, where, there hasn't been a top 5 score in the 2000s since this year. So that is something to consider. 1997 also, tech falls. If you didn't score any backs and got a tech fall, you only scored 1 point as opposed to 1.5.
Oh yeah, I remember that rule even when I was around, I think.
Yep.
You guys are old, man.
And then 1997, only the top 12 were seated in each bracket. So,
That was still around when I was around.
I mean, that's a little bit more dicey to really use that as an
Yeah,
argument.
it used to be a
Like,
random draw for
I was saying the seating now is
basically 20
still
of the
not great
guys.
though.
Yeah, that's true. But it's ideally supposedly a little bit more fairer.
Put Carter at 9 again. See what happens.
And then the last change,
Would you have
obviously,
preferred Carter just randomly drawn in?
I think would have. I don't think it would have changed the bracket at all. Honestly, I think that the same guys would have placed the same things. But yes,
2024 obviously has the 3-point takedown and the 4-point near fall, where obviously 4-point near fall that's not new this year, but a few years ago. So all of those factors should be considered in when comparing the scores. So I went through weight by weight for each team and came up with their team points scored. But before I get to that, just as a general trend, I compiled the top points, the total points scored by all teams in NCAA wrestling over the past 3 years. And you'll see that in 22 and 23, it was pretty much the same. But in 2024, there was 60 more points. And nothing else changed other than the bonus points.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because it's
8-point
easier to get
takedown.
bonus points now.
Right. And for the top 10 teams, even look at the big difference 60 more points for the top 10 schools.
Yeah, that's a significant change.
If you look at it, so we had done a different video about should tech falls be worth more than pins. And in that video, we kind of came up with an average. Over the past 5 seasons, there was an average of 618 matches, 65 falls, 20 tech falls, and 105 major decisions at the average NCAA wrestling tournament. In 2024, matches were the same. Falls were actually down 23%. They dropped from 65 as an average down to 50. Major decisions, major decisions pretty much exactly the same, 105 to 107. But look at this, tech falls 20 up to 55 in 2024. And if you remember, in 2023, there was only 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And then 55 this year.
So what that makes me think is that, okay, obviously matches that ended in decisions are now becoming majors because of the 3-point takedown. Matches that were ending in majors are turning into tech falls because of the 3-point takedowns. Because these major numbers are the same. Tech falls, though, that's 3 times as much almost. Like,
yeah, that's crazy.
That's significant.
That is very significant.
I think it's also a little bit of a change in culture where we're seeing guys, even at the high school levels, go for pins less. The Bishop McCourt wrestlers come to mind where they're like, why would I want to pin a guy when I could just tech him? And it's like, well, seems like more work, but I think we're seeing a lot more guys look for techs these days. Even just following NHSCA action, we're seeing guys, tech their way through instead of pin their way through. With the idea is, I want to continue to score points, constantly attacking, constantly building a lead. I want to transition this to college. From college, I want to transition this to, freestyle and Greco, where I'm looking to tech because very infrequently do we see pins at the international level. It's a lot of techs. And I think the idea is if I can get used to scoring points and not necessarily pinning and carry that with me, it'll help me better for my freestyle career, which so many guys are working towards now. So maybe it's just a bit of a culture change as well. Especially with the rules that allow them to have, almost a major off of a takedown and backs.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, yeah.
So if you kind of compare these two teams, you can kind of go weight by weight, but the short gist of it, the high level, is that the 97 Iowa team had 5 champs compared to Penn State, who had 4 champs. Both teams had 8 All-Americans. Their team record, 46-9 for Iowa. Penn State, 45-9. Iowa, 9 majors, 3 tech falls, 9 pins, and 1 forfeit. Penn State, 10 majors, 8 tech falls, and 6 pins. And so I kind of broke it down by like the 3 scoring. So This is placement points. So Penn State had 5 more placement points. Bonus, Penn State actually broke the record for most bonus points scored, 34 compared to 33. And then the last one is advancement. I tried to do the math in just calculating it manually, and I was off by like 2.5 points. So I'm assuming that got lost in the advancement somewhere for Iowa, but they scored 170. So however that ended up being. So Iowa scored more for advancement points. And it kind of makes sense because they're all Americans. They had 1/5, 1/6, and 1/2, 2 round of 12s. Penn State had 1/2, 1/3, 1/5, and 2 round of 12s. So it really just mattered on when they won.
And was this the year that Ironside won the Hodge? McElravy, he was the guy that could have been the
No, he won it.
Second four-timer had he not lost.
Ironside won the Hodge in 98.
Oh, 98, okay.
Yeah.
So I thought this was a little fun. So I took a look at Penn State's majors and Iowa's bonus points. And so obviously you look at Penn State's majors, 14-5, 13-1. These are matches by their wrestlers, and this is the score. So I highlighted there were 4 matches here where they won exactly by 8 points. Now, if the 3-point takedown is not a factor this year, these 4 it's hard to play this game. It's like these wouldn't be majors, but it's like the guy could have maybe wrestled to get it type of thing.
Yeah.
But conversely, let's say Iowa had the 3-point takedown. They had all these matches where they won by at least 10 points. And I have to imagine they scored at least 2 or 3 takedowns to get that, or even 4-point near fall too. Like they're scoring takedowns and back points. You have to imagine that all of these matches
could have become techs.
Yeah.
And then you're getting more
at least points. 1 or 2 of them would have, yeah.
So that's favor for Iowa if there's 3-point takedowns. If it's not, then it's a minus for Penn State, so to speak. Yeah. So let's go right back to this column. 1997 Iowa with 2024 scoring. This is just using today's All-American scoring, and you'll see. I mean, Iowa with a 6th, and they had a 6th and 5th place because of the difference in 6th and 5th. They'd score.
Yeah, that's 5. Yeah, that's 5 added points.
And this is also saying, like, assuming that, hey, it's 2-point takedown, 3-point near fall. Like, you're not giving them the benefit of the doubt with that as well. This is just if you change just the All-American.
Oh, yeah, you're just changing the one thing with the All-American thing. They could actually be even higher than that.
Potentially, yeah.
Yep. So the question comes, like, by the math, and it's like it's kind of looking at like movie box office records. It's like Avatar's the highest grossing movie ever. Well, yeah, but if you account for inflation, I think like
Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, is number 1. So it's like, how do you juggle the, like, that's like saying in basketball, like when they added a 3-point shooter, it's like all these guys would have so many more total points. But so it's interesting to take a look at it. Iowa, with the rule changes over the years, arguably.
What about head to head?
What, in these matches?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we could kind of take a look and see like who would win this dual meet type of thing.
So yeah, like Whitmer would win.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's hard because like the quality of wrestling.
The weights are also
maybe
different.
The national champ's not going to beat a guy that did an All-American. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, but I would argue the weight class though, 118.
I would agree with Jack here, honestly, too. I think that the standard of wrestling has gone up so much in the last few years. I mean, 97, 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago, even more now, wrestling has changed dramatically. I mean, look how much better US is on the world stage. Our youth guys are better. Our middle school, our high school, our college guys, our world team, they're doing better. I mean, back then, I would never want to see Mark Ironside in a phone booth. I would never want to like cross his path in an alley. But I would say Bo Bartlett would probably beat him in a freestyle match if they wrestled. You don't think so? Bo Bartlett, who almost knocked off Nick Lee. didn't knocked off Nick Lee. Nick Lee, who's beaten Yanni Diakomahalis every time they've wrestled in
How many
freestyle.
Hodges does he have?
But my point is that the standard was lower then. I mean, guys now are so much more impressive. It's, you have guys like Mitchell Messenbrink. I possibly a recency bias, but look at the results that we're getting. I really think that the standard of wrestling, we're in the golden age. I've said this in videos. I've said this in comments. I think our guys just keep getting better. And I would say, although it is a recency bias, that the quality of wrestling now is better then. Those guys were gritty, hard-nosed, tough as nails, but a lot of them were more brawlers than wrestlers. And we even see that with old Thomas Gilman footage when they're like, yeah, he's got one heck of a club, says Tom and Terry Brands. It's like, well, that's not a wrestling move. That's just this. And they're like, yeah, man, he's got a nasty club out there. Dude, is this boxing?
Yes.
And I think that if you watch old footage of, Mark Ironside, dude is a beast. Wes Hand, dude is a beast. Joe Williams, these guys were, legends of their time. But I think
that one final Mark Schultz against
that's Bianchi versus Ed Branch or whatever.
Bannock.
Yeah,
Bannock on Schultz. Yeah.
They're just throwing each other left and right, and I'm like, this is like comical.
This is like the national finals too.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is like these guys were just, I'm gonna go all out for a big move, and it's gonna go crazy. But if you tell me that you don't think Mitchell Messenbrink would, or Levi Haynes versus Joe Williams, who are the same weight, Levi Haynes, both national champions, Levi Haynes is taking him to school.
So I agree. I mean, like in all sports, the level of competition is had to raise. So there's no doubt there's studs. Like Babe Ruth is going to be legendary. Michael Jordan's going to be legendary.
100%.
There's still going to be like freaking Dan Hodge can crush an apple with his bare hands.
He still can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So there's no doubt. But I'd say the collective, the depth has increased tremendously.
Yeah. Training methods are better, recovery is better, coaching is better, because these guys went off to coach the next generation and said, how can they be better than me? I mean, Cale Sanderson, Tom and Terry Brands, these guys are looking to be like, how can I coach these guys up to be better than I was? And John Smith's super old, and I'm sure he's doing his best with Oklahoma State. I'm joking. I love John Smith, but it's the same thing. These guys are saying, I had a great career. How can I help the next generation be even better? With the modern technology we have, the new training methods, everything, kids are starting wrestling younger. They're getting better. They're having more experience by the time they're getting to college. And I think all of that combined is leading to, like Jack said, deeper wrestling pool with overall better talent at the top. And I think that just like any sport, the records are going to continue to get broken, just like we see in track and field. You could watch the mile progression of how fast it was in the 1800s versus how fast it is now. And it's, it's minutes off. And I think we're going to see that with wrestling too. Like 40 years from now, you're going to see a guy that's like, yeah, that Carter Brooks, Carter Starachi guy, Aaron Brooks guy were okay. But like, I'm going for my fourth Hodge this season. Like, you're going to see guys like that level.
My fourth Hodge.
Yeah, it's going to be different. I mean, when Aaron
four-time
Brooks,
champ, four-time Hodge Trophy winner.
When Aaron Brooks starts at club, these guys pass it on. I think that is my defense of why the Penn State team is better, is that the talent is there. Plus, I would argue that the Title IX rules were a little different back then, where there was a lot more money to spend on the recruiting process. You kind of got away with a little bit more. And you were able to keep these super elite teams, which is why Iowa, on top of incredible coaching by, Dan Gable, also was able to keep such great talent, is that guys wanted to come there because there was a lot of incentives outside of just wrestling. Kind of like we're seeing with NIL right now.
So my question for you guys, do you think this was the best Penn State team ever? Because I think there's two teams out there who have 5 champions. I was just pulling it up. 2022 had 5 champions. They had and 1 All-American. So Greg took 4th.
Fourth,
And
yeah, because he
then
forfeited for third.
Max Dean won. Aaron Brooks won. Srirachi won. Nick Lee won, and RBY won. And then in 2017, you had 5 champions: Zane Rutherford, Jason Nolf, Vincenzo Joseph, Mark Hall, and Bo Nickel, with Nick Neville's taking 5th. So very
It's
close. Those 2 teams are very close.
the 2017 team has a place in my heart because you had Bo Nichols, Zane, and Jason Off all in the lineup, and those guys were all like, man, like who's going to win the Hodge out of these 3 guys? They're all competing for it. You had them bonusing guys left and right, just absolute buzz saw in the competition. You had freshman sensation Mark Hall, who, albeit did have some struggles after that. You had Vincenzo Joseph. You had some crazy talent, but we've always said it as coaches is that the wrestlebacks are kind of what determines these championship teams. And 6 All-Americans versus 8 All-Americans, even though they have 1 less national champ, I still think that this team is the best that Penn State has put forward. But I do think next season they're going to have a better team and break their own scoring record, in my opinion.
So you think the 2017 is the best Penn State team?
No, I'm going to say 2024. But
oh, you are? You're saying this year is the best Penn State team ever?
Yes. I think that the All-American potential is what sold it for me. Having 8 All-Americans versus 6, even though they have 1 less national champion, the consistency amongst the team is what made it huge. But it's tough to argue because of the bonus percentage that those guys had to do when it was a 3-point, wasn't a 3-point.
I remember when the rule was getting discussed, Bo Nickel was like, I could take down anybody 7 times.
Yeah, I think that if that 2017 team had the same 3-point takedown, 4-point near fall, they'd probably be just pretty dang close to this 2024 team. But 2025 is going to be the all-time team.
Well, I think 2024 is interesting as well because it's an Olympic year. So Andrew Alira's, you plug him in at 141, Bo Bartlett might not make the finals.
Same thing at 197 with AJ Ferrari.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man, Aaron Brooks just doesn't win it.
I mean, it is super impressive. This is the first time they've had 6 in the finals, although they only had 4 champs. I'd probably prefer 6 in the finals with 4 champs than 5 for 5.
Yeah.
Really?
Plus 8 All-Americans. So it's
That's
kind
what I
of
mean.
hard to look past.
It's pretty great. And especially like it just kills me because again, this team underperformed still by the standard that they thought they were going to do. Like Aaron Nagao should have been a high All-American. Braden Davis probably should have been All-American. Bo Bartlett definitely had a chance to win it. Mitchell Messemer definitely had a chance to win it. Could you imagine this team with 10 All-Americans and 6 national champs?
Yeah.
It would put to rest the whole, is 97 Iowa better or is it 2024 Penn State? When you have
I think Iowa.
If you had 6 champs and 10 All-Americans, you can't be, 60% of the champs are from your team. 10% of all, 10 of the All-Americans. That's unheard of. Only one other team has done it.
And to give Iowa some credit, though, I mean, they also had 6 in the finals, but they had 5 champs. So I think that gives them a nod as well. Yeah. So it is really apples and oranges at this point. But in terms of points, Penn State gets it. But adjusted points, Iowa gets it. So there's really no right answer here. You can argue either way, which is the better team. Let us know in the comments down below what you think.
Iowa.
Or if there was another team that we didn't mention. Drop that in the comments down below. But we could. I mean, it's bright for Penn State. We could see this record broken once again next year as well. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Thanks for watching. We are Cactus Wrestling, and we'll see you next time on our next video.